Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux here with the Daily Racing Form. We're going to take a look at another stakes race at Santa Anita this Saturday, June 10th. Their fourth race is the Grade 2 Santa Margarita, mile and an eighth on the main track for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. And just looking at this race historically, some big names have won this race, including Blue Stripe. You go further back to Zenyatta, Azeri, Balance, Life is Sweet. I mean, the list just goes on and on. It's been a really important race. Even Jewel Princess has won the race. So curious to see. We just have a field of 5. The big name in here, Adair Manor, not shocking. She's just been very impressive in her last 2 efforts, especially in the Santa Maria last time out. Desert Dawn, though, looks to get back on track. She's fared very well in Grade 1 events in the past. Now, a 4-year-old who's going to need to step it off of what we've seen so far this year. But Adair Manor are going to take all the respect in this 5-horse field. We'll start with the number 1, though. Desert Dawn, I mentioned, has raced very well in Grade 1 events. You go back to she won the Grade 2 Santa Anita Oaks, then won in the Grade 1 Kentucky Oaks, and was a really big third at odds of 50-1. She's also second back in 2022 in the Clement Hirsch behind Blue Stripe, we already mentioned had done well in this race in the past. And we'll actually take a look at her race 3 starts back. She hasn't come within her 2 efforts in 2023, but we'll go back to September at Del Mar in this Grade 3 event. She's on the outside here. She's the number 1. You can see Midnight Memories on the inside, and Midnight Memories will go on to win another race after that, but they really did throw it down here in the stretch, and she ends up coming up a little bit short behind Midnight Memories. But those sorts of performances, I thought she raced very well. Now, looking at her now, we know the transition from 3 to 4 can be very tough, especially on the females, and she did come back in the Grade 1 Beholder Mile. She was 4th best in there, and then more recently was 5th again in a Grade 1, but now on the East Coast. And I just think this is a better spot for her. She's going to have to try to beat Adair Manor, which will be tough. But I do like her, getting back to the West Coast and getting back to a little bit of a softer spot. She's really shown up. But, she's going to need a little bit of a confidence-boosting effort. So here I'm hoping she can at least get in the money. The number 2, Adair Manor, needs no introduction. We will take a look, though, at her most recent race because it is just so visually impressive. She's able to just really open up on this field, going a mile and a 16th, and she did a kind of a gradual stretch out so far this year from 7/8 to a mile and a 16th, and she's just kind of relished that additional distance each and every start. And she didn't face a huge group here, but to see the way that she wins and how easy it is, it's hard to knock her. She ends up getting a 95 by her speed figure for the effort, and she beats Big Switch again. You see 2 starts back. Big Switch was a bit closer to her. It was a head bob in the end. This one ends up winning by a head, but a very consistent type. She's 8 for 10 in the money. She's really hard to knock, and she seems to be training lights out since, her last race. I mean, look at her last 3 drills, bullet work. So she looks like she's going to be extremely tough here in the Santa Margarita. Number 3, Smooth Like Butters, who will go to next. This one of the was 4th, I should say, in the Grade 2 Santa Maria. Just really didn't fire and was losing distance, but that's also because Adair Manor was just kind of opening up on the field. Prior to that, though, Smooth Like Butter was able to get a win. But you see her form. Just look at her record. She's typically not winning her races. She's been picking up those minor checks time and time again, always kind of that big player for underneath, but she's not too often in graded stakes, at least recently as well. The number 4, Tis a Macho Girl. This one of the Jeff Metz farm. They've tried some different things with her. I mean, she's been kind of all over the place between Emerald Downs, Turf Paradise, Santa Anita. I thought last time out she raced quite well on the turf course, but that was on the turf and it was going 3/4 of a mile. And looking at her performance there, she did make a nice late run. She ended up finishing 3rd by 2.5 lengths, but now she's getting back on the dirt. And just looking at her dirt races, she just hasn't faced the Adair Manors and the Desert Dawns of the world. So she would really need to step up in here. Maybe you could see her getting a minor share in here, but I think this so far looks like a 2-horse race from the horses that we talked about. Then rounding it out, the number 5, Kirsten Bosch. This one was 5th, ended up finishing last in the Grade 2 Santa Maria. But prior to that, that was a pretty nice 3rd in the Monrovia. This horse is a really nice closing kick. We've seen that in several of her races. You kind of see, though, in her last couple, she has a little bit of that good race, bad race syndrome. When she won back on January 15th, she was extremely impressive, and she got up just in time because Ushi Kimura has been a boarder in her last 5. Very good performance. But in the Beholder Mile, the waters were a little too deep. She was able to race well at 6.5. They just kind of tried her all over the place. She is going to get that, extra distance going a mile and an eighth, but she's going to need to step up. And Hector Barrios is going to climb aboard her for the first time for trainer John Sadler. So that's the field of 5. No shock here. I have to go with the number 2, Adair Manor, based on her numbers and her performances. She's been able to be, on the lead and take them gate to wire. But even in the past, she's been able to pass horses in some of her efforts. So she's really tough to knock in here. The price, though, we know is going to be extremely short. I think the main horse, and probably the only horse that could beat her at her best, is the number 1, Desert Dawn. But I'm just not sure yet. For seeing her kind of in her peak form. She certainly could improve, though, just making her 3rd start since early September. And then rounding out, I go to the outside with the 5. But for me, Adair Manor, extremely tough. If you're trying to beat her, to me, it was the number 1, Desert Dawn. But I think they're all going to have a tough time passing the 2 into this race on Saturday. Good luck.